B1 brothers and sisters, welcome to Black Logic. And today we're going to basically go over some of the major things that really destroy and dissolve the nuclear Black family. And we understand that this destruction really started to occur in the 1950s and the early 1960s. There are a lot of root causes that has caused the Black family to really be non-existent today. Are there still Black families? But we're roughly at the 70 percentile of single people, of only 30% of foundational Black Americans actually being married. We have to tear down these curtains that is a disintegration of the nuclear Black family, because a lot of these root causes, some of you have heard, some of you probably never really thought about it in this particular way. But we have a blood-stained pages that scar our collective memory with incidents like Rosewood, Tulsa, Oklahoma, the Red Summer of 1919 that ignited a blaze of violence across the nation, leaving countless families shattered and broken. But we still pulled ourselves up by our bootstraps, did we not? But it didn't stop there. Our oppressors had many weapons in their arsenal. The 1994 crime bill, the 1986 Anti-Drug Act. These were basically modern day chain gangs that locked away majority of Black men, tearing fathers and brothers and uncles and cousins from their homes, leaving children to navigate a world of injustice alone. Even to this day, our beautiful Black women are more single than any other group, and it's almost damn near combined. Now, there are some positive studies that Black men are more involved in their children's lives than any other race. That was a staggering study. But there's been many things that have been against us. And what about welfare? What about welfare? Supposed to be a lifeline, but instead it became a trap. Policies designed to punish us, punish our women, to have a man in the house. Did you guys know that? That the system was designed to punish women once the 1986, let me go back one. There was another act that Reagan signed. There was another, or LBJ signed, the Poverty Act. All of these acts, believe it or not, family, were anti-Black, because they understood the destruction of the Black family. Because there's many articles, and we might pop one up here, of how white people were jealous of the growth of Black people economically. Now, I'm not saying white people today, I'm saying white people back then, okay? They say they were jealous, because don't forget, we didn't just have one Black Wall Street family. We have multiple Black business districts. If you guys do any studies, do this one, the Red Summer of 1919, and really read it from 3 different sources so you get all the nuances and all the context about that. These were prominent Black towns that these sellers came home to destroy, because they saw Black folk doing well, Black folk dressing well. They didn't like that. Oh, family, they didn't like that. They didn't like us flossing. That's why it's so hard. That's why they're so hard bent on not giving up reparations. We're going to get our reparations, family. Then you had the feminist movement that sucked in our sisters and gave them a place up long enough. The patriarchy, the damn patriarchy. We need to join together because of the patriarchy. These men are out here doing us wrong. That feminist movement was not for Black women. It was for white women. White women came in and took the legs right under the feminist movement. And it wasn't because Black men were doing them bad. Black men had to work, so did Black women. During that time, especially during the 30s to the 70s, Black women were working at 50% compared to other women. Black women were having jobs at 50%, white women around 16%. So it didn't even come close. It didn't even come close, family. And there's some statistics here that I'm going to show you because I have to back up what I say, because the white supremacists and the bootlickers and coons, they get their little feelings hurt. And so I have to provide them with facts. And must I put this out there? Because we can account, right? We can do a thesis and basically state what equals systematic racism. What are some tall tale signs of oppression? We have to formulate facts in order to come up with a very truthful response, meaning that, oh, well, we can't count racism. We can't put racism in a chart. We have to do the actions. We have to do the words. We have to do the legislation. That's how you point it out. That's how we point it out. Because our generational wealth was stolen, opportunities denied, our schools underfunding, our neighborhoods underfunded. So how could we build stable families when the system is rigged against us every turn? No way out. Oh, they're building their own cities. Okay, we'll bomb them. A young black boy touch a white girl's butt, or touch on the shoulder, or he looked at her too long. She felt uncomfortable. So let's start a riot. Let's start killing black folk. Let's destroy what they have. This is more race-based economics than anything else, family. I despise you so much. I'm a bigot so much that I don't want to see you to strive. I don't want to see no one, your skin tone, your skin shade, your skin range, to do better than people that look like me. Because how dare you come out of slavery? How dare you come out of slavery and do better than me? How dare you? How dare you come out of slavery and do better than me? So let's get into it, family. Because we're going to talk tonight, family. We're going to have a discussion tonight. Because if you guys comb through music, okay, and I'm not just going to do the flaming term that's going around, sexy red. It's a lot of people, it's men and women rappers that's in the culture. Not just that. Anyway. So right here what we have is in 22, and this is coming from the Department of Justice, the majority of white children and Hispanic children lived in two-parent homes, 75.6% and 67.5%, 5%, compared with 4 in 10 in black children. Compared to 4 in 10 in black children. So our numbers are well below, if you can see that, family, that red line down here. We're well below 50%. So that means we have a lot of women. A majority of women are single mothers. And we have a lot of men who are single. But this does a lot for our children, because if we just base our condition on the current times, then we're not looking at the root of the problem. Nobody wants to have this conversation because it's not going to invoke people's emotion, right? We rather talk about what he do, what he didn't do, what she did, what she didn't do, and men should be doing this, and I'm the table and you're the table, and I bring value and I can bring you. We're having these very, how can I say, surface level, light conversations about togetherness and relationship and love, and it goes deeper than that. Because we're not seeing each other as equals, as black men and women. And it's not because of ourselves, right? There is a time where we have to start making excuses, but what happens every 10 years? There's a new decade, there's a new generation coming. So about time we can start to educate ourselves about this attack on our people, and to keep the black family separated. Then comes another generation and they push another agenda. So we never really fix the issues of being together like we once were. we are better together. Why do you think all these other people here, family, are together? Because they understand they're better together. So this is where we are, family. We're the most single people in America. And then when we look at this, it says percent of children living with only their mother by race. Look at the orange. That represents Black. Look where we are. We're over 50%. We're slightly low 50% coming into 22. But these are not statistics that I want to be the leader of. These are not statistics that I want us to be ahead of. Okay? And you can go check this out, Department of Justice, Juvenile Justice, okay? Federal government website. I understand. I may not have a lot of people tonight, family, and that's okay because this is a very unpopular topic, okay? Because people don't want to be together. People are selfish, right? That's the thing that we tell ourselves. She won't act right. He won't act right. Well, you can't sleep over because I get government assistance. That's the whole term of that. You're making the government your husband. Because the government tells you you can't have a man in the house making money and you guys build together and eventually get off welfare. No, if you have somebody in the household, you have to report that, and you also have to report how much money they're bringing in. And by the way, you can't earn a full paycheck. You have to work part-time, sister, because if you get a full paycheck, then you make too much. Now you can't get government assistance no more. So now you have to move out of Section 8 housing and you no longer have access to an EBT card. Then somebody would say, well, what does that say about Black women? Think about that. What does that say about Black women? That they want to stay on government assistance. No, women, and this is my opinion, supposed to be with men. So they need someone who's going to be head of the household. Yeah, we have some alpha females, but most women want to reside in their femininity. They want to reside in their softness and their gentleness. So subconsciously, is it possible that women somehow make government their husbands? I'm just asking the question. As I told you, family, there's many things out here, many reports out here. And if you guys are not familiar with the Molahan report, you definitely need to go read it. But I want to pull some things out here very quickly. And this is coming from cityjournal.org. 70% of Black children are born to single mothers. Those mothers are far more likely than married mothers to be poor, even after a post-welfare reform decline in child poverty. They are also more likely to pass that poverty on to their children. They're most likely to pass that poverty over to their children. That's why we have generational poorness and not generational wealth. Uh-oh. Everybody's trying to build generational wealth, but nobody want to be in a relationship. I hear about building generational wealth, doing something for your siblings, doing something for your kids, but nobody wants to be married. Nobody wants to be in a relationship and build together. I'm just calling it what I see it, family. I know this is an unpopular conversation, but white supremacy surrounds all of this. But now that we are aware, we have no more excuses, do we not? Before the country's discussion of Black poverty had heart into the fixed orthodoxies, before phrases like blaming the victim, self-esteem, out of wedlock childbearing, talking about illegitimate children, and even teen pregnancy have become current. Most analysts assume that once the nation removed discriminatory legal barriers and expanded employment opportunities, Blacks would advance just as poor immigrants had. Blacks will advance just as poor immigrants had. So they're already stating that immigrants came to this country and surpassed Black folk. What's going on right now? We have over 3 million people in the past year, Joe Biden, in the country illegally. And based on past history, where it be the agents they dropped off in the Black community back in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, and now Hispanics been dropped off in the Black community, and they're using the resources and community property in those Black neighborhoods to ensure that they have a place to stay. Who do you think will still be left at the bottom? This is why I preach this. We're better together. Between the 1954 Brown decision and the Civil Rights Act of 1964, the legal racism had been dismantled and the economy was humming along in the first 5 years of the 60s. The economy generated 7 million jobs. This is important. Yet those most familiar with what was called the Negro problem were getting nervous. They were getting nervous on the Negro problem. We got a Negro problem. Negroes out here. About half of all Blacks had moved into the middle class. You see that? We had the skills, we had the intelligence, we had the know-how, we had the ingenuity. Who you think built the country? Foundational Black Americans. That's who. Oh, well, the slave masters taught you guys how. Well, we was illiterate, right? We couldn't read, we couldn't draw, we couldn't sketch, right? We were illiterate. We were dumb. We were 3/5 of a human. So how could we build a country without you guys showing us? Did you guys go out there and like build 10 of them like this and 30 like this? No, they didn't. We already had those skills, family. And then it states here, we have a Negro problem. About half of the Blacks moved into the middle class by the mid-60s. Listen to that. But now progress seemed to be stalling. The rise in Black income relative to that of whites steady throughout the 50s was sputtering to a halt. More Blacks were out of work in 64 and in 1954. Most alarming after rioting in Harlem and Paterson, New Jersey. In 1964, the problems of the Northern Ghetto suddenly seemed more intraceable than those of the George Wallace South. And they're talking about how basically Moynihan here broke it down and gave his own account for it. But I want to jump down here right to the green. Policymakers had assumed that if the male heads of household had jobs, if Black men had jobs, women and children would be provided for. This no longer seemed true. Even while more Black men, though still catastrophically low numbers, were getting jobs. They wasn't giving us jobs, family. Like really, really low numbers of getting jobs. More Black women were joining the welfare rolls. I'm not blaming our Black women. This was all done by design. That's what basically they're stating here. This was done by design, family. And you guys can go read this. I didn't want it's a very long journal page here. But I wanted to break that. I wanted to really, really break that down for you. And let's look at this. This is blackdemographics.com, and they get their information from the Census Bureau, okay? Just so you guys know, not a bunch of people in a room making up stuff, okay? And then you can see right here, it says its source. Let me blow that up for you guys. It says its source, U.S. Census Bureau, okay? And it is breaking down of people who've never been married. Now, this is 2020. I know we're 4 years out, but these numbers are relatively still the same. Black men are 30% married compared to Black women. Excuse me, Black men at 33%, Black women at 27%. 50% of Black people never married. 52% of Black men never married, and 48% of Black women never married. Okay? But when it comes to the married portion, Black men are more married than Black women. And we already know Black men at 15% date outside their race. Okay? 85% of the time, we marry Black women. Okay? 93% of the time, Black women marry Black men. So that 15% is non-Black American. Okay? Now, they kind of give a breakdown compared to races here, where it says married, Black men are the lowest. Okay? Black men are the lowest compared to Hispanic and white and Asian. Then we'll look at never married. We see Black, 50%, highest of everybody when it comes to that category. So if you guys are not noticing a trend here, Black marriage in 2021, it states in the blue square, which is here, 85% have a Black wife. So that means 85% of Black men marry Black, and the other 15% marry non-Black for those who marry. When it comes to women, as I stated before, 93% marry a Black husband, and that other 7%, swirlers, as we call them, as well as Black men, they're swirlers as well, which is fine. That's a prerogative. That's what they essentially go with. But when I look at the Black family and we look at the dismantle and the destruction of it, there's not just one thing. This is very complex, because anytime white supremacists get in a room and they have these think tanks, they're not just thinking about 1 year, 2 year, 3 years. They're thinking about the next 50 to 100 years of how they will destroy Black people. If you don't think it's that serious, then look throughout the legislation, throughout the time, look at all of the attacks, not the physical attacks, the systematic attacks, family. The systematic attacks. That is what we have to look at. Now, look at this. Black women more likely to be married than white women until 1970. Until 1970 is when that changed. What happened? What happened in 1964? What happened in 1986? What happened in 1994? We're talking about civil rights. We're talking about the Anti-Drug Act. All of these are contributors what dismantled and destroyed the Black family. It states here that never married among women age 35 and older by race. Okay, but it says up until 1970. Now, look at the amount of people that we were married when it comes to Black women. 1970 hit and it skyrocketed. So you had all these systematic attacks against Black folk, and there's many reasons to it, right? Because if we kind of look at back in the day where we had the Homestead Act and there was land promised, and then some Black people got land and took land, because again, we have to go back just to understand the construction of it all, family, and how these things transform throughout time. Because the government reneged on a lot of promises, leaving Black folk basically disenfranchised and economically crippled in these areas. They'll give us land, take back the land. Or we buy land and then somehow we're late on our taxes, even though we've been paying our taxes because we're tilling our land, we're selling our agriculture, but we're back on our taxes. And then the government still takes our land back. Or someone takes up paperwork stating that it was their land and our land been taken that way too. Land theft, oh man. Most powerful thing in America. The most powerful thing in America. And we could talk about the massacres. We could talk about the genocides. Yeah. All of these things. The 1986 Anti-Drug Abuse Act, 1994 Crime Bill. Yeah, some of these things you guys are very familiar with, but there's these other things that surround this conversation of why Black men and women are not together. But we always make it so damn surface. Black men need to bring the bag to the table. They need to be able to take care of me. And what has been a perpetuating catalyst of this stupid narrative that Black men and women shouldn't work together, that we should build this oasis where the statistics tell us that over 80% of Black men are in the middle class. But out of that 80%, majority of them are not making more than $50,000 a year. So unless you want to live in a 1-bedroom apartment, we're going to need help. Oh, I'll just get a man who makes that. Okay, do you care if he's Black or not? Yeah, I want a Black man. Okay. Well, did you know that only like 5 to 8% of Black men make over 100,000? And even when you make 100,000 as a single man, as a single woman, you're only roughly making 73,000, 74,000 after tax, because single people are taxed at the highest level. Okay. And then we start getting to the upper echelons of salary. We're talking about 150 and above up to, 400,000. It's like 2 to 1%. And women outnumber men, period. And then black women outnumber black men, period. But these are some of the things that we're not looking at. All of these are contributors, family. All of these are contributors. Now, there's all these other people that's more married than we are. Let me move on. Black men more likely to be married than white men up until the 1960s. Because during the 1960s, don't forget the civil rights and all of those things. Black men were around the country helping Dr. King. At the same time, they were coming inside of neighborhoods, grouping up black men. Because don't forget, family, mass incarceration didn't start with Joe Biden in the 1994 Crime Act. Oh, no. A lot of people would like to believe that. A lot of people would like to believe that. But that is not the case. That is not the case. Because truthfully, I'm trying to remember the date for you guys. I don't want to get this date wrong. But it really started with Reagan. Right? And it was a particular act that Reagan signed. Okay. And I wish I had that up for you guys. It just slipped my mind. Okay, just slipped my mind. Because let me go back just a little here, because LBJ, or President Lyndon B. Johnson, his war on poverty, what it was supposed to do is alleviate poverty across the nation, right? But policies were implemented and had unintended consequences for Black Americans. There was a policy named Aid to Families with Dependent Children, which provided financial assistance to single mothers. But this led to a perverse incentive where fathers were often absent from the home to ensure eligibility benefits. Family, this is welfare. See, that Lyndon B. Johnson war on poverty, but it's and they knew that who's the race that's mostly in poverty? Black people. So it was going to vastly target Black folk, right? But the incentive of this program were to keep fathers absent from the home, and that's the only way they can ensure their eligibility benefits. And as a result, you already know the nuclear family weakened, and it perpetuates cycles and generations and decades of dependency upon the government. Then you had, wait for it, what was it? Nixon's war on drugs, which criminalization of drug use, and increased the amount that police were being more vicious than they ever were before. I mean, give and take at the time. And we understood that this mainly targeted Black communities, despite, and I know you guys heard this, you read this, you've seen this, despite similar rates of drug use among different racial groups. The implementation of this war on drugs when it came to Nixon, the implementation of hard sentencing laws such as mandatory minimums, okay, which impacted us mostly, that led to mass incarceration and further debilization of families. Then you had the 1986 Anti-Drug Abuse Act. That was another Ronald Reagan's baby, Reaganomics, which exacerbated these issues by imposing stricter penalties for crack cocaine. Remember, crack cocaine, you got 5 to 8 times the amount of time in prison versus powder cocaine, because they understood what the drug dealers were doing in the hood. They were trying to make more out of a little bit, right? So they can sell more. So they said, okay, we'll fix that. Oh, the reason why we did it is because crack cocaine is more addictive. Oh, okay. Even though both were addictive, but this is more addictive. This is more. Then you had Ronald Reagan Sentencing Reform Act. That's the one that I was talking about, family. The Sentencing Reform Act that Reagan did. And this was supposed to address disparities in when people were getting sentenced to jail. But instead, this contributed to mass incarceration crisis. The act established federal sentencing guidelines that eliminated parole, leading to longer prison terms. And this was mainly for drug offenses that, again, mainly affected Black communities. Then you had good old Sleepy Joe. Him and President Bill Clinton, because remember, before Obama, President Bill Clinton, the first Black president, because he poked a little la-la and he can play the saxophone. Wow. Are we that easy, family? Are Black people that easy to win over? Are we that easy? Because don't forget, Sleepy Joe and Puffin Bill are the ones who signed the 1994 crime bill, which led to an explosion in the prison population, which again, disproportionate number of Black individuals incarcerated for non-violent drug offenses. And to this day, you go to Washington State, you go to Oregon, they didn't legalize all drugs. How far have we come? Then you had bills like the 3-strike law or the 3-strike rule, which mandated life sentencing for individuals convicted of 3 or more felonies, further decimating Black families and communities. Family, we didn't do this to ourselves. We didn't just have help. We didn't have support. Someone tied our hands behind our back, tied our feet together, hog-tied us, put a gag inside of our mouths, blindfolded us, and drugged us to the point that we are now. But now that we are aware, what are our excuses? We understand that the system of white supremacy has done its toll on Black Americans. So instead of using legislation, family, okay, look, it states here the war on drugs and its effect on Black marriage. Let me blow that up for you guys. That's where we are, family. I was going to break this down, but I you guys are really smart. All the acts and everything that occurred on there. Okay. And ladies, it says, where are the Black men with jobs? There you go. You ain't going to find that many. Because you know where they live at. San Diego, is there Black people there? Sure. Is it a lot? No. Seattle, Washington, live there. Not a lot of Black people. Denver, Colorado, you already know. There's Black people there, of course. Not a lot. But when you start coming to these bottom 5, there's going to be a lot of Black people. That's all I'm going to tell you. So good luck. Good luck, family. That's what I got for you. I was looking at the refrigerator. Hold on. That's not my last thing here. Give me 1 second. I want to point this out to you as well. Excuse my old man cough here, just trying to get over something. It says, here's the biggest culprit today. Excuse me, not Black men. In some parts and ways, the government, but we have coons, tethers, anchor babies that have an agenda. And then we have ourselves. And we bite ourselves in the ass all the time. Social media. And this is not to attack our beautiful ladies. This is only to give you statistics of what they're talking about. Black women are among the largest consumer groups of social media in the United States. Black women. We're on Facebook. We're on Instagram. We're on TikTok. We're on Snapchat. We're on Be Real. I don't think nobody on True Social. That was going to be a joke. We on fan base. We're on Clubhouse. Our Black women, they are the largest consumers of social media. Black American women have curated space on social media platforms to authentically converse about Black womanhood and resist structural gender racism. Are we talking about the patriarch again? That's what we're talking about. Still, there is a dearth of research on the subjective importance of Black American women, social media use, and risk for social media addiction. This is the new government-sanctioned destruction of the Black family. I'm not talking about Black women. I am talking about social media. And I don't mean important, informative, uplifting, teaching you ways to get money, social media. No. I'm talking about all these platforms that the only thing they talk about is relationship. And they're not talking about relationship in a positive manner. Everybody on the platform, everybody on the show is giving their own perspective, their own contrasts and correlations of their particular situations. And throughout all these conversations, they are perpetuating stereotypes about Black women and Black men. And this is still tearing us apart. See, the way white supremacy moves, it just transforms and evolves over time. It fits whatever time and space that's currently at present day to destroy Black people. And the way that you destroy Black people is destruction of the Black nuclear family, where Black women don't want to be with Black men and Black men don't want to be with Black women. And then when we are together, all hell breaks loose. And the only thing we're doing is pointing the finger at each other. And we're not looking at the root cause of things. Oh, brother, you can't just blame everything on white supremacy and racism. I'm just telling you where it starts. We have our own obligations, okay? We have our own things that we need to do in order to be better together. But I think a lot of times people don't understand subconsciously of the information and these narratives and these toxic talking points and how it continues to keep us separated while everybody else is living a good life. You see it, ladies. You guys go out to restaurants, men, ladies. You go out to brunch. And yeah, sometimes there's a bunch of beautiful Black women that are getting together, just having lunch. But then statistics tell me that there's just a lot of beautiful Black single women getting together, because I would like to believe that some single women, some Black women would like to go to brunch with their family, would like to go to brunch with their husband or their boyfriend. I'm just basing it off statistics. Please don't chew my head off. I'm just looking at statistics, family. Social media addiction among Black American women with consideration to structural gender racist contexts. People who are young adults, Black and female are among the largest consumers of social media in the United States, according to a Pew Research Center. Relative to white Americans, Black Americans report greater use of social media platforms such as Facebook, Instagram, okay, with reporting greater use than men. Scholars suggest that Black American women may have other uses for social media, such as access to social resources to navigate structural oppression. Okay. Let me make sure I didn't skip anything else, family. I think I have one more piece here I want to point it out. It says connectedness with Black women is suggested to provide Black American women with a sense of belonging and validation that strengthens their capacity to navigate gender racist stressors. Does anybody know the term hurt people hurt people? Hurt people hurt people. So if you have a bunch of women who are on a platform or in a fan base or clubhouse room, or they're doing fashion fit or fat, whatever, or these relationship type platforms, if they're on these platforms and all of them are single and they all been hurt, what do you think they're doing? They're validating each other hurtness and feeding off their hurtness, and then they just start to man bash. See, I haven't seen a platform, and I'm pretty sure there's a podcast out there, or there's a video of 3 to 5 black women who've been hurt by black men, 3 to 5 healthy black women who've been in a long-lasting relationship, whether it be a long-lasting relationship or marriage with a black male. So we can have real discussions. Because it's not like women don't hurt people, and it's not like men don't hurt people for various reasons. Why do people break up nowadays? They're saying that the number one reason why people get divorced, the number one reason why people break up is based off finance. It's based off finance. It says Black American women report needing, not wanting, needing, expecting and receive greater support from black women than from white women. Of course, you're gonna support your own. Okay, I had to read this whole thing earlier, but yeah. I really just wanted to point those things out to you before I got into your comments here, family, to really stir the pot, because it's a mixture of a lot of things. And what's some of the sources here? YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, TikTok, LinkedIn, that's professional sometimes, WhatsApp, Snapchat, Twitter, Reddit, Be Real, and Nextdoor. We have all these different social media outlets that majority of our women, okay, are consuming on a very large scale. You've seen the conversations on these platforms, family. They're not for the betterment of black people. They're not for the betterment of black relationship. They're not for the betterment of black marriage. They're not. Everybody is just in there men hating. And okay, I'll be real with you. There's some platforms where I see men, black men, women hating. It's not just the women, family. It's just not the women. But I think a lot of us are uneducated to a point we're not. And again, I know there's going to be some naysayers that state everything is not about race. When it comes to black folk, there's more things related to racial oppression than anything else. Us not being together, family, is not just a couple of people cheating, a couple of people doing this, a couple of guys beating their woman. No. It's bigger than that. They've been doing this for a very long time. They have over 50, 60 years of practice of keeping black families apart. I got Lois Knowles, Tina Marie in the room, Jermaine Anderson. Nice to see everybody that's here. We got a number one coon in the room, Solid Snake. Let's see here. They hate us when we have strong families and hate us when they got out of their way to break the black family. That's true. Shout out to my Mar, Jermaine Anderson. Nice to see you, brother. Nice to see you. Tina Marie, B1 from Oakland, B1 to you too, sister. I see I got a lot of people in the room here, family. Ain't too many people saying too much. Did I talk too much today? Did I talk too much? Let me know. But yeah, I had my little tags up here. Look, this for GP, I gotta at least show one for a minute because I created all this stuff. But when I look at the statistics here, family, it's staggering. And if we're not looking at the root cause of these situations, we will never be able to get it through our thick head. So I really, really thank you all for joining me here this evening. Okay. I thank you all for joining me here this evening. Brother feel a little bit under the weather, but we got through it. Okay. Yeah, we talked about the Section 8 policies. We talked about the sentencing project. We talked about certain programs that came from the Poverty Act. That's when welfare really, really got its teeth sunk into black women. Okay. And a lot of times we want to blame black women. We want to blame our mothers, but we're not understanding how all these things transpired throughout history. And that is what's important. But nonetheless, family, you guys have a great and wonderful Monday. So I'm back. I had to take a hiatus. I had to take a break from my mind. I was going hard in the paint. But I'm back. I see you guys on the next one. Be one.